7.
This is CNN.
From king of the ring to convicted felon, Mike Tyson steps out of the courtroom and into an uncertain future.
And ahead of the home stretch, the former Senator Paul Tsongas of Massachusetts is out front in the final days before the New Hampshire primary. Welcome to NewsHour. In Washington, I'm Reid Collins.
And from CNN Center in Atlanta, I'm Bobbie Battista. Boxer Mike Tyson arrived back at the Indianapolis City County building about an hour ago for a pre-sentence interview with probation officers. The former boxing champ was greeted by a group of fans chanting, "You're innocent," but that is not what a jury ruled last night. Tyson left the courtroom after being convicted of raping an 18-year-old beauty pageant contestant. The verdict was handed down after 9 days of testimony and more than 9 hours of deliberation. The 25-year-old boxer faces a possible sentence of 60 years in prison, but prosecutors say it is more likely that he will get between 7 and 11 years if his expected appeal fails. CNN's Jim Huber joins us now. A little more insight on the story.
Bobbie, the boxing world reacts pretty much as its social counterpart does, with much aghast this morning. The reigning heavyweight champion Evander Holyfield spent most of his evening last night entertaining fans at a leukemia fundraiser in Atlanta, only to hear the news of Tyson's conviction near midnight. Holyfield, who has awaited a proposed $100 million match with Tyson for nearly a year, says that thought is now history.
No, I wouldn't. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's right for me to fight anybody who's been in charge or guilty of such crimes. I feel that, you know, I have respect for the system. If they feel that this man have done that, then I don't think it's right for the public to see me go in selfishly thinking about myself for the money to go out and compete against someone that had been charged with a crime such as rape.
We will have more reaction from the boxing world as the day continues, and I'll be back later in NewsHour with the word from Albertville on day 3 of the Winter Olympic Games. Reid?
Jim, there's a late poll in other news that shows the former Senator Paul Tsongas of Massachusetts has now overtaken Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton with a week left before the New Hampshire primary. In the latest tracking poll yesterday by CNN USA Today and the Gallup organization, Tsongas moved ahead of Clinton 33% to 26%. Senator Bob Kerrey of Nebraska follows with 13%. Lagging behind, Senator Tom Harkin of Iowa with 11% and the former California Governor Jerry Brown with 8%. Clinton had a 13-point lead over Tsongas when this tracking poll was conducted last Thursday night. But results of the last 4 nights of polling showed Tsongas overtaking him in the Democratic trial heat. This poll has a margin for error of 5 percentage points. It was victory for the Democratic presidential candidate Harkin in his home state of Iowa. Last night, the voters throughout the state gathered in living rooms and school auditoriums and other places taking part in this Democratic caucuses. With 96% of the precincts in, Harkin has won about 77% of the caucus vote. Harkin was left wondering why the other candidates ignored Iowa.
I think the message that it sends, not only to New Hampshire, but to the rest of the country, is that the people who know me the best are willing to give me that kind of strong support. And I find it very curious that none of the other candidates even came here to campaign. I have support groups in Arkansas, in Nebraska, California, Massachusetts. I'm not afraid to go there to campaign. I don't know why they didn't come here to campaign.
Paul Tsongas was a distant second in Iowa in the caucuses, followed by Bill Clinton. Well, within this past hour, President Bush played host to the Turkish Prime Minister Süleyman Demirel. Tomorrow, the focus will shift to politics for the president, pure and simple. Mr. Bush is expected formally to launch his re-election bid, relying, the White House says, on issues such as health care and the economy, according to the White House spokesman Fitzwater. CNN is planning live coverage of the president's announcement. It's expected around 10 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow.
In a moment, seniors get a kick out of active lifestyle. Still, many find the golden years not the best. We'll take a look as part of our People's Agenda series for Campaign 92. In Los Angeles, a dramatic rescue from floodwaters as Southern Californians cope with heavy rain. And we've heard AIDS is everybody's problem, but the increase among heterosexuals may be less than feared. Stay with us.
Is that a new dispatcher?
That you was here the last time you checked up on me.
So those Rollins guys. Are they still trying to steal our drivers?
Well, I think I got that under control. My Penn Weber guy set up a 401k. It's a pension plan, so obviously the longer a driver stays...
That must be costing a bundle.
Well, it costs a lot less than constantly breaking in new men.
How does a stockbroker know that you've been having trouble keeping drivers?
He asked.
San Antonio, where we predict you'll have the best time every time. For a free vacation kit with valuable discounts, give us a call.
A week away from the all-important primary, the race is tightening for Democrats. Will Republicans send a message to George Bush? Iowa is over. It's on to New Hampshire. Inside Politics 92. Today, 4:30 p.m. Eastern on CNN.
At least 6 inches of rain drenched Southern California yesterday. It caused floods and mudslides and wreaked havoc on the roads. Helicopters flew through the western suburbs of Los Angeles searching for people trapped by high waters. One man suffered a broken collarbone and ribs when he fell 50 feet being rescued by a helicopter. This fierce storm sent the Los Angeles River over its banks, and that swamped several freeways. Lightning knocked out power to some 80,000 people.
10 days ago, the U.S. Supreme Court cleared the way for the forced repatriation of thousands of Haitian refugees. But lawyers for the refugees say the High Court acted without knowing the full story. They say U.S. immigration officials knew some refugees went back to face torture, persecution, even death, but kept that information from the justices. Today, the court ordered the Bush administration to file papers this week about what it knew and when. That disclosure could determine whether the court intervenes on the Haitians' behalf. Democracy in America depends a lot on senior citizens. They vote more than any other age group, so politicians woo them. But these facts don't change the bottom line. Often seniors are short of the cold cash they need. And it's an item on the people's agenda for Campaign 92, as CNN Special Assignment Correspondent Ken Bobbie reports.
Thank you, Mark.
These are pretty good times here for all these old-timers. Not old. These older swimmers. Yeah, very good.
Come on, Lou. Drive.
Yeah, he's my grandfather. Yeah, and he's my brother.
The boys and girls of summer, as many as 80 summers, still healthy and fit, with enough time and money to participate in the Senior Olympics.
Did I beat him?
They're still in the game, but fighting physical decline and all that comes with it. Dependency, poverty, loneliness, and stress. For too many senior Americans, what lies just over the horizon is a life of limits.
Every day, 6,000 Americans celebrate their 65th birthdays. Now, 31 million strong, they vote at much higher rates than younger Americans. And more money is spent on programs for older Americans than on defense. But these voters are concerned that Social Security doesn't go far enough, concerned that drug charges not covered by Medicare are unaffordable on their fixed incomes, and finally concerned that they will live deep into old age, outlasting their resources. Their concerns are part of the people's agenda this election year.
219, gosh, how No, I'm going to have to let that go. That's a little too expensive.
Annie Parker on a shopping trip with her husband, Granville.
Maybe have a sale next week.
Married 40 years, 4 kids, 6 grandchildren.
Wait right here. Don't go nowhere. I'm going.
Just turned 65, Annie Parker has a job, and she does it every day.
I'm the transportation, and I'm the cook, chief bottle washer. I have a 36-hour day.
The job is taking care of Granville. He's had Alzheimer's disease for 4 years. His mental abilities in the past 2 years have deteriorated greatly.
Right in here.
Annie's job is difficult, painful, and lonely.
I don't have anybody to talk to, give my thoughts to, you know, because we were always so very close, and it hurts to talk about it, really. Times. Excuse me. But it's like losing a very good friend. Choices are cheaper, so I'll get those.
In addition to the emotional cost, there is the daily penny pinching.
You hold on to that.
There is no way to calculate the value of the care that Annie Parker provides her husband.
That's why they were on sale.
But current federal policies provide Mrs. Parker with a choice that really is no choice. Either continue as they are, or put Mr. Parker in a nursing home on Medicaid.
That's good.
Seniors want more flexibility in federal programs to help stretch their retirement dollars.
Are they triple? The coupons are triple?
50 cents. 50 cents and above.
I rob Peter and pay Paul. That's the way I generally do. I have juggled it so that I don't know how I do it myself, really. I think we had a whole lot of stuff, a whole lot of bags.
With humor and bravery, Annie Parker struggles with her finances. Her children help. This car was a gift from them. But it is all too common for Alzheimer's and other diseases of the elderly to turn the golden years into a time of poverty or dependence.
It's like eating a meal, honey. Ain't it?
For the Parkers, it's not just Alzheimer's. Between them, Granville and Annie have had 6 heart attacks. Between them, they take 30 pills a day. The cost of prescription drugs not covered by Medicare puts many families in the red. Senior Americans want some help with the cost of drugs. Annie Parker must fit her drug bills into an already tight budget.
My bills every month, oh boy. Sometimes they're over $1,000 a month. And that's more than I get a month. Yeah, I'll get your food together, okay?
Annie Parker is one of millions of senior Americans who care for diminished spouses on a fixed income. The Annie Parkers of America need a break.
If I could say something to the president or to the higher echelons of the government, I would say, as a senior citizen, help.
Now, Saul, you're having a good time. You're going to have a good time today, Saul.
Bill and Sylvia Hirschfield could be 2 of President George Bush's points of light. Grandparents in their mid-70s. Here they're helping some older folks enjoy a fall outing.
Isn't that nice? You're the little ones.
The Hirschfields were named Maryland Volunteers of the Year. Bill has been retired 11 years. He used to run an insurance agency.
I was 65 then, and I feel that was enough. So I didn't realize how much work I'll be doing for nothing.
They volunteer at the senior center.
That's a good break.
Where the men play billiards.
It's 6 around.
The women exercise.
Around last time.
And everybody gets together for cards.
All right, here's the king. Here's the king.
Most of these people are on fixed incomes, as are most seniors nationwide.
No cheating.
40% say that Social Security is their main source of income, but it doesn't go far enough.
I'm cheating.
More than half want Social Security payments increased.
A lot of people thought that Social Security, when they're retired, would take care of all the expenses. A lot of them didn't save any money.
Utilities go up, rents go up. If you just lived on Social Security, I don't know if you'd even get by. I really don't think you'd get by.
Getting by on Social Security now means walking a financial tightrope that grows longer and longer. More and more Americans are living deep into old age. They're concerned that they will outlast their resources.
Here's some spotted pigs.
Sophie Hornstein in the wheelchair is 95, a member of the fastest growing age group in the United States. She is Sylvia's mother.
They're all looking for something to eat.
Sylvia, a grandparent herself, takes care of Sophie, who's had a stroke. Mrs. Hornstein's savings were wiped out by medical expenses.
Look at this, Mom. Look at the pine. Look at the pine.
Bill and Sylvia had to find a nursing home for Mrs. Hornstein.
You have to give them personal care, or they just vegetate, that's all. I see what happens. People stare at the wall. They stare at the wall all day. 1, pick them up high. 2, 3.
The Hirschfields eventually found a very good nursing home for Sophie, but even here, Sylvia comes every day.
Okay, now we're going to make a circle with their ankle.
Sylvia Hirschfield is part of a new group of caregivers, senior Americans with very old parents. Did she ever expect to be caring for her mother in her own mid-70s?
Okay, now let's punch. Never, ever, never even occurred. Never. You know, you think life's going to keep on going. It's going to be like that all the time, and then boom, something happens.
Elderly Americans want their elected officials to know that living on a fixed income takes discipline.
Yeah, we're almost there, you know that?
That Social Security is not all that it's cracked up to be. That medical costs are a constant worry.
Granville?
They would like to think that America's lawmakers in Washington understand that for many elderly citizens, the golden years
Do you feel good?
have become nothing more than a life of limits.
Feels great to get out.
Ken Bobbie, CNN, Special Assignment.
Beautiful day. And it would be a shame to stay inside on a day like today, wouldn't it?
Tomorrow, a look at another critical issue on the people's agenda for Campaign 92, Planet Earth. The environment comes into its own as a key concern.
And in other news, a federal jury in Alexandria, Virginia, hears some more testimony today in the fraud and perjury trial of the infertility doctor Cecil Jacobson. Jacobson is accused of using his own sperm without his patient's knowledge to artificially inseminate as many as 75 women. He's also accused of telling some patients they were pregnant when they were not. One of these testified yesterday that Jacobson had told her he saw a fetus during a sonogram and called it Junior. But another doctor told her later she never was pregnant. Just ahead on NewsHour, change at the top of the major silicone breast implant company, and we'll have a new look at AIDS and heterosexuals.
Across the world, phones are ringing. Who's calling?
Hello, Mom.
People who have the AT&T Reach Out World plan. They're saving an average of 20% on calls to friends and family in over 50 countries and areas. Even if you spend only $12 a month on international calls, you'll save on your calls to Mexico, Canada, across the Atlantic, or the Pacific. Dial 1-800-258-3231. Then go ahead and call, and the longer you talk, the more you'll save. The low $3 monthly fee gives you over 120 hours a week to save. You'll even get a state-to-state discount. Across America, people are signing up for the AT&T Reach Out World plan. Because with these savings and all the quality and service you expect from AT&T, it's our best value in international calling. Sign up now.
Freedom's the one. Only one gum passes the test when you've got dental work, and that's Freedent. Freedent won't stick to your dental work, so you can be confident chewing it. And because it also moistens your mouth and freshens your breath, Freedent's in a class by itself.
Freedent's the one that took the stink out of gum, and Freedent moistens your mouth. Yeah, moistens your mouth and freshens your breath while you chew.
Non-stick Freedent moistens your mouth and freshens your breath.
Grandma wants to buy everything she sees for her grandchild, but are the toys that we buy really good for our kids? Child psychologist Lee Salk grades toys today on Sonia Live, 1 p.m. Eastern, only on CNN.
The man who handled the Agent Orange crisis for Dow Chemical will apparently handle the breast implant crisis at Dow Corning. Keith McKinnon will replace two top executives at Dow Corning who stepped aside yesterday. Dow Chemical is the parent company of Dow Corning. Dow Corning acknowledged yesterday that it has known for years about complaints of medical problems linked to its breast implants, but it continues to insist the devices are safe.
The forecast for the U.S. AIDS epidemic in the 90s has looked gloomy, but despite dire predictions, some government experts are saying there has been no explosion of new AIDS cases among heterosexuals. As CNN's medical correspondent Dan Russ reports, the fight against AIDS is far from over.
Staten Island, New York is a short commute from the highest concentration of confirmed AIDS cases in the world. 3 years ago, Dr. Jordan Glazer was the first to describe the spread of AIDS from homosexual and inner-city enclaves to middle-class suburbia.
This little island here that's in the backyard of a major epidemic, there's a lot to learn from our experience here. So how you been coming along?
Okay.
Hanging in?
Good.
Dr. Glazer still sees patients who acquired AIDS heterosexually. Most are women whose male partners got AIDS injecting illegal drugs. But there's been no wildfire spread. He says one reason is the biology of the virus, most closely linked to AIDS. HIV is spread sexually, but the chance depends in part on sexual practices. Rectal intercourse appears to be much riskier than vaginal sex.
Once the partner, the man, is diagnosed with HIV, what amazes a lot of the women is that 3 out of 4 times they're negative.
Anne was not so fortunate.
So now that I think about it, we were definitely at risk because my husband is an alcoholic and has a cocaine problem, and there was a lot of promiscuous behavior.
Anne may be an exception, but stories like hers add to confusion over how far AIDS is spreading and who should be most worried about catching it.
The public wants to view this at one extreme or another. Either they want to say, it's not a problem at all, I don't need to worry about it, or this is terrible, I need to worry about it all the time. And the truth is that it's somewhere in between. It is a real problem.
There's no explosion in new cases of heterosexual AIDS here, just a slow increase. Still, reason enough, some say, to get personal before becoming intimate.
The most important things about, let's say, a woman marrying a man is whether that man used IV drugs or whether that man is bisexual. Promiscuity, in terms of a risk, is probably a greater risk in the inner city areas. Whether it's becoming a risk in more suburban areas, I don't know yet, and that's what we'll have to wait and see.
And I said, I'd like to know where you got it and maybe who else you possibly infected. And he was like, it doesn't matter, I don't know where I got it from, and he was just real quiet about it.
In another New York suburb, Heather Doyle struggles with full-fledged AIDS, caught from the man she married and buried.
And some days I get real upset and depressed and mad. I feel like it's stripped me of a lot of things, you know, having a family, children. I feel it's not fair. You know, what did I do?
New York City accommodates a range of sexual interests. Illicit drugs are at hand. Anonymity is practically assured. Such convenience in the center of the AIDS epidemic among gays and IV drug abusers bolstered early forecasts that AIDS would quickly spread beyond the inner city. In New York, it hasn't happened. In recent years, Staten Island's share of New York City's AIDS cases has held steady. But encouraging statistics don't help people like Heather Doyle. And public health experts worry that some people may use any good news about AIDS as an excuse to be reckless.
And we're telling people that overall, the average heterosexual in this country is not at very high risk for HIV infection. On the other hand, it's such a terrible disease, and it's so completely avoidable. Why take a chance?
More in our next report on weighing and reducing the risk for heterosexual AIDS. Dan Rutz, CNN, New York.
Across the world, phones are ringing. Who's calling?
Hello, Mom. It's Jonathan. I'm getting married.
People who are saving money with the AT&T Reach Out World Plan. They're calling friends and family in over 50 countries and areas, talking longer and saving an average of 20%. Even if you spend only $12 a month on international calls, sign up and start saving. Whether you call across the Atlantic, the Pacific, to Canada, or to Mexico.
Did you see the phone bill?
Yeah. Hola, tía Dora.
AT&T makes it easy to save on the calls you already make. You'll even get a 5% discount on AT&T state-to-state calls made from your home. Call 1-800-445-3231 and sign up now. Because with this plan, when a loved one is far away, you can go ahead and call.
I miss her, too. We could call her in Tokyo. Huh? Do you want to call Grandma?
And the longer you talk, the more you'll save. No need to wait for the right time to call either. You have over 120 hours a week to save. The AT&T Reach Out World Plan. With these savings and all the quality and service you expect from AT&T, it's our best value in international calling.
I'll call you. We'll call you.
So before you make your next international call 1-800-445-3231 and start saving an average of 20%. All for only $3 a month. Across the world, phones are ringing. Who's calling? Soon it may be you. Sign up now for the AT&T Reach Out World Plan. Call 1-800-445-3231.
In London this morning, Army experts defused a suspected IRA bomb discovered in the central government district. Police discovered the bomb not far from the Foreign Office only hours before a visit from the U.S. Vice President Dan Quayle. In Tokyo, a man armed with a gun and a sword shot his way into the headquarters of Japan's ruling party. The 21-year-old gunman holed up in the empty party office of the Prime Minister Miyazawa for 7 hours before finally giving up. The suspect had been demanding that the Liberal Party, the Democratic Party, give up its power.
There are reports that 2 Libyan terrorists sought in the West have disappeared and may have been executed. The 2 are suspects in the 1988 bombing of Pan Am Flight 103 over Scotland. They were being held by Libyan authorities. The Washington Post quotes a former CIA official as saying Mideast sources claim the agents were executed. Sources tell CNN the U.S. received a report 2 weeks ago that the 2 may have disappeared, but officials say they have not been able to confirm that report. Hundreds of thousands of Iranians filled the streets of Tehran today shouting death to America. For 11 days, Iranians have been celebrating the 13th anniversary of the late Ayatollah Khomeini's Islamic Revolution, which swept away a pro-Western monarchy. The celebrations had mostly been confined to gatherings and speeches until today. The crowd pledged new allegiance to the teachings of Khomeini, who died of cancer in 1989. Still to come, we'll have a complete business news update live from the New York Stock Exchange.
And also on NewsHour, Buy American has become a rallying cry for the U.S. auto industry. But does that term still carry much real meaning?
I was going through some trade confirmations, and bang, it hit me.
This has got to stop.
My broker talked me into something I didn't want. It's not doing well, and I still paid all this commission.
Common sense says you shouldn't pay for advice you don't want. That's why active investors come to Fidelity for discount brokerage and save up to 65% on stock and option commissions.
Yesterday before work, I called my broker. Not in. Called at lunchtime. Out.
Gone for the day.
Called after work. Gone.
No.
You can trade round the clock and enjoy the great service that's made Fidelity America's largest mutual fund company. At locations nationwide, even by PC with never a sales pitch. Over 2 million investors know it's easy doing business with Fidelity. Call Fidelity now for this free excerpt from the bestseller One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch, plus everything you need to get started. Call 1-800-334-1100. Fidelity Investments. Common sense. Uncommon results.
NewsHour continues, followed by Sonia Live after this local commercial break. Next on CNN.
She chose a difficult routine, but Thompson looks extremely poised and graceful.
And Newsome with a beautiful dive. It's obvious the judges like that one.
This part of the course has given skiers trouble all day, but Riley looks well on his way to a goal.
Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Iowa reminds those who aren't competing in Elberville that good health and fitness are important to you, too. After all, just because you aren't a U.S. Olympic team athlete doesn't mean you can't feel like one.
AE presents colors, the colors of flavor. AE colors are healthy and good. Yeah.
Some of nature's best colors bring out the best flavor in AE low-fat yogurt. No preservatives, nothing artificial added. All natural is all you get in every delicious bite.
Nobody colors flavors like AE.
Now checking our top stories on NewsHour, boxer Mike Tyson had a meeting with probation officers today, less than a day after he'd been convicted of rape and 2 other felonies. The jury's foreman said later the victim had proved more credible than Tyson, who's facing a maximum sentence of 60 years in prison. Democratic presidential contender Paul Tsongas appears to be gaining momentum in that New Hampshire primary race. A new CNN USA Today Gallup tracking poll now shows Tsongas leading in New Hampshire with some 33%. Bill Clinton has dropped to second with 26%. Tom Harkin's hoping his success last night in Iowa's Democratic caucuses may carry over into New Hampshire. With 96% of the precincts reporting, Harkin is taking about 77% of Iowa's vote. The senator is from Iowa, and most of the other presidential candidates all but conceded the race there long before the caucuses.
The latest financial headlines now with Beverly Schuch at the New York Stock Exchange. Bev?
Thanks, Bobbie. A rally is underway on Wall Street right now. Investors deciding to buy after an uncertain morning. Strong oil and airline issues helping the Dow Industrials extend yesterday's 20-point rally. Right now, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is up about 9 points at 32.54. Trading volume is heavy, 107 million shares traded so far. Advancers outpacing decliners 4-3. And on the broader and secondary markets, the 4 key indicators are mixed. Today's market movers, digital equipment is up 1 7/8 points. The company today settling a patent lawsuit with ClearPoint Research. Federal Express shooting up 3.5 points on positive comments from Wall Street. Greyhound Lines is racing forward up 1 1/8 points. Legg Mason forecasting a strong earnings report for this year and next.